I'm not scared of you, Arch. I'm going to install you. Hello, YouTube. Thanks for tuning into /. So this video is about Arch Linux, and a lot of people either love it, they hate it, or they're scared of it because it seems so complicated. The Big Daddy Linux Live community did a challenge on it. If you don't know what it is, you should really check it out. The channel is great, the website is great, really good group of people, and they do challenges every week. So they did a challenge on Arch, and it had been a while since I played with it and actually fully installed it. It sort of reminds me of installing Linux back in the day before we had the fancy installers. And the guide can be intimidating, but I'm going to show you how I install it. I use the Cinnamon desktop, and there's a few things I'm going to skip over. Unfortunately, my machine doesn't have UEFI, so it's just going to be a BIOS MBR install, which you can also do. If you follow through the guides, you'll see all the instructions are there. There's a lot of stuff that you can skim over if you want to do the full thing. If you want to do something special, it's all there. But anyways, I'm going to run you through how to do it. Another thing I'm going to skip over is how to install the ISO onto a USB. You can use Rufus in Windows, you can use DD in Linux. There's a bunch of different ways. I might put a link up in the top corner if I do a video in the future on that. Let's just Google Arch Linux, and you can go to their page and go to downloads in the corner here. Now there's the torrent link, which I would recommend because it's fast. Or you can go down and you can select your country and you can download it here. I'm not scared of you, Arch. I'm going to install you. So yeah, anyways, so now we're going to do Arch install guide. And what you want is from the Arch wiki. Now again, this looks intimidating, but just follow along and you'll see it's actually not that bad. So verifying signature, you can do all this if you want. I did it before. I have the same USB stick. You don't really have to do it. Booting the live environment, basically stick the USB in your computer, boot it up, and make sure you're booting off of that device. So I'm going to switch to my testing rig. Now, as this is a 10-year-old computer that I built out of old parts I had laying around for free. It's an old Intel Core 2 quad. It had 8 gigs of RAM, but one of the sticks died, so it only has 6 gigs now. It works. So let me just turn this on, and the stick is in, so I'm going to mash F8 until I get my boot menu pop up. Waiting, there we go. So yeah, 6 gigs of RAM, but it works fine. I have a 250 gig SSD drive in here. So boot off of the USB, get the nice menu. I'm just going to select this. There's other stuff you could do here. You can run your memory test or boot into another OS. But I'm going to delete everything off of the drive and yeah, just go ahead with it. Okay, so here we are. You're dropped straight into the root. So let's go ahead and I'm going to move this all the way down so that I could zoom in, and there we go. So now we can follow along here. Where were we? Boot the live environment. Okay, so we've done that. So first things first, you're going to set the keyboard layout. You would run this list command to see everything. So if you're just using a US keyboard, it's pretty easy, but for everyone else's sake, I'm going to do user share keyboard key maps star dot map dot gz. There we go. So there's a whole lot here listed. Hopefully you see yours. Here, let me just zoom this out so that you can see. There's a whole lot listed, and hopefully you can find it in there. If you have issues, maybe you could just find out what your layout is. So we're just going to go load keys US. And we're going to go to verify the boot mode. I'm not going to do that because I know that this is just MBR with BIOS. If you have UEFI, you'll have to go through and follow a couple more of these steps. Connect to the internet. So we're going to do IP link. And here's another thing. If you guys are running this on a laptop, there is a nice little utility called Wi-Fi menu. So I don't have a Wi-Fi adapter in my PC, obviously, but it will bring you up with a nice little menu. It will scan what is available in range. You pick your Wi-Fi, and then it'll ask you for your password, and it'll connect you. Saying that, there's an extra step that you'll have to do that is, I don't believe in the wiki, but I will show you how to do it. So once you do that and you have connected to your Wi-Fi, your hotspot or what have you, you can ping anything you want. So google.com. And you can see here that we're getting pings back. You can see the time is 20 something milliseconds, and you're going to press Control-C to stop that. So that proves that it's working. Next is update the system clock. So time, date, control, and set network time protocol to true. Do that. So now our OS clock is synced. And next we're going to partition the disks. So fdisk-L will list all your partitions. Let me just zoom this back out. So you can see all my SDA1, SDA2, SDA3 is all listed at the top there. And I'm going to delete all those. If you have multiple hard drives, you'll have SDB, SDC, and so on. So there's a little table here of layouts. Again, I'm not doing UEFI, sorry guys, but it is pretty simple if you have MBR. Now, an easy way to do this is to just create a new partition table. So by doing that, you just do fdisk dev SDA. SDA is my drive that was listed earlier when I did the fdisk.l. So we do this and zoom out again, or get rid of this. So you could see here, there are some options you could do. I am creating a new empty DOS partition table, MBR, so the command would be O. If you're using BIOS and you want a GPT partition table, you would do G and just follow along. I'm not going to do that, but when you do this, it's going to erase all the partitions on your hard drive. You'll end up with nothing. So what do we have next? Making sure that the partitions exist. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to delete all my partitions. And I'm going to do cf disk, which shows you a nice little application, nicer to use than a lot of others. And you can see here I have a few Linux partitions. I have extended, I have an LVM, I have a swap. Currently I have Arch and Fedora Silverblue installed on this, but I'm going to wipe them all. And I can say delete, delete, just use the arrows, delete, 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 delete. There you go. Now, if you do the fdisk command from before where you wrote yourself a new partition table, this is what you're going to start off with. So in the free space, I'm going to hit enter, and it's going to ask me for the partition size that I want to create. So I'm going to create a, let's say, 60 gig partition. And primary. Okay, so I have that. And the type is Linux automatically. And then in the free space, I'm going to create a new one that is 8 gigs. This is going to be a swap. Primary. Now, if you use your arrows to the left and right to get to the different menu items on the bottom here, when you go type, you can change it to 82, which is Linux swap. So that will be my swap space. You could take up the whole drive if you want. You can do any kind of configuration you want. This is just what I'm doing here. And I'm going to create new 50 gig primary. Now I'm creating this extra one because it's going to be a backup partition where I can run backups with time shift, which is something that I usually do. So now I'm going to write. Are you sure you want to write to the partition table to the disk? Yes. Now everything's gone. All the stuff I did before is gone. All right, and then now we're dropped back into the root. So I'm going to go back to here, and we're going to format the partitions. So I'm going to go mkfs ext4 is the format that we're going to use, and it's going to be dev sda1, what we created before. Proceed. Yes. Done, done, done. Okay. And then we're going to make swap. Make swap. Done. And then we're going to turn swap on. SDA2. So remember, SDA1 is where we're going to install our operating system. SDA2 is the swap. SDA3 is going to be for backups. I can actually just go like this and create it. So SDA3 now is also ext4. CF disk, I believe, since you told it to make it a particular file system, did it already, but this is something that you could just do anyways. And then the next step is to mount the file systems. So mount device SDA1. I'm going to say here as well, if you're using an SSD NVMe drive, it won't necessarily be SDA. It could be dev/NVMe, whatever the numbers are, 1. Just go with whatever your partitions are for your device name. So we're going to mount that drive to MNT. That's pretty easy. So select mirrors. Packages to be installed must be downloaded from mirror servers, which are defined in etc. So here's something that I do differently, because the initial installation is quite large, and the next step here is to copy the base operating system into our partition. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to pacman. This is what we use. This is our package manager, by the way. So S is to install. We're going to install something called reflector. Now, since we've never synchronized the repos before, we're going to get an error. So you can't find. So what you would do is sy, because sy will synchronize your repos first, and then it'll install reflector. Just like if you do syu without reflector, by the way, it'll synchronize your repos and then update your system. So pacman sy reflector. So we'll do that. It's going to synchronize all the repos, and then it's going to ask to install. Yes, done. Now, there's another thing I'm going to show you here. Just Google Arch Reflector. And again, the Arch Wiki. Don't mind my mouse. It's it's off from where it actually is on the screen. So if you scroll down, there are some examples here. Now, this example is perfect, and this will work for what we're doing. So we're going to go reflector, verbose, because you want to see what it's doing. The latest 15, let's say. It gives 5 as an example, but why not? Let's do 15. You could do 50 if you want. You could do 200 if you want. It doesn't matter. And let's also add, like it shows, I think it shows right down here. Yeah, country. So because I'm in Canada, I'm going to do country Canada. and we're going to sort by rate, as in the speed that it downloads. Now we're going to save the results into etc pacman.d mirror list. So run that, and it's going to check them all. Let me just get rid of this. It's going to check them all, and it's going to rate them, and then it's going to sort them by speed. So you're going to get the fastest ones coming in first. So another thing that we're going to kind of skip here is installing the base packages. We're going to do packstrap mount. So you're telling packstrap where to install the OS in mount, which is mounted to SDA1 and base. But you can also add base devel. And this is a bunch of utilities like make and things to compile, which you might not want to include, but it will come in handy later. And then there's other things that you might want as well. If you have a Wi-Fi network card, you're going to want the Wi-Fi menu. And you're also going to want dialog, which is used by Wi-Fi menu, but for some reason is not a dependency. And also network manager. But I'm going to remove these simply because I don't use them. And we're also going to install xorg, if I can type, and cinnamon. So yeah, let's do that. An SDDM, that should be good. And you can also go Firefox. This is all stuff that you could do after the fact once you've gone into the system, but you're doing it now, might as well just get it done now. So we'll do that. It's going to synchronize a whole bunch of stuff that needs to be downloaded. So this is probably going to take a while. I'll just show you all the packages that it's going to install. So I'm going to let that go, even though it is going pretty quick. This is why I said to do the reflector thing first. So you can see I'm getting 7 megs per second, 10 megs per second, 8 megs per second. So this is pretty good. So anyways, I will let that go. I'll pause the video and then I'll come back to it after when it's done. All right, so we're done, and that's actually not that bad. It only took a couple of minutes. So everything's done. Everything's installed on our hard drive now. And now we can move on. So packstrap we just did, and now configure the system. So this is going to generate your fstab file, and this will put the proper UUIDs in your fstab. It's not going to use SDA1 and whatnot. So we're going to do gen fstab u mount into mount etc fstab. So that's done pretty quick. And then we're going to chroot, change root into our installation. So chroot, sorry, I'm not used to them having their own thing. Usually it's just chroot, but arch chroot, I guess, does a couple extra different things. And then there's a couple of things here like setting up time zones. So it's fairly easy. I'm just going to show you here. Let's say you live in Denver. So we're going to do lnsf user share zone info region America Denver. Easy as that. etc local time. Done. Now HW clock and systohc. So what this is going to do is it's going to set the hardware clock. Remember earlier we did the network time protocol that set your OS time, and this command will set your hardware time to match the OS time, in case you're wondering. Localization. So we need to edit this file here. I'm going to highlight it. Sorry, the mouse is off. So we're going to go to, we're going to nano etc locale.gen, and you're going to uncomment your locale, and I'm going to just uncomment it here because it's an example, or you can scroll all the way down. It's up to you. Control O, enter, Control X, and then we're going to nano etc locale.conf. So this is some of the nice stuff that is done for you automatically. You could write a script and have all this done yourself as well, but this is what we're doing. So we're going to go, so lang equals en underscore us dot utf-8, or whatever your language is. Enter, exit, and then again, nano etc vconsole.conf keymap equals us. And again, Control O, enter, Control X. You will set that to whatever yours is. Don't set it to US if you don't have a US keyboard. And continue to scroll down. Network configuration. This stuff's pretty easy. Nano etc host name. And I'm going to unzoom this again. Sorry, guys. You're basically just going to type whatever you want your host name to be. So I'm just putting Arch. Control O, enter, Control X, and nano etc hosts, HOSTS, as it says here. etc hosts. So we're going to edit that. And you're going to put what is in the wiki. Let me just put this on the bottom here. So 127 Arch. Control O, enter, Control X. And we are done. Next is going to be init ram fs mk init cpio p Linux. So it seems like a lot of typing. It seems like a lot of steps, but to be honest, it's a dozen commands. You're more prone to make a mistake, I guess, but it works. It just works. So wait for that to finish. Okay, that's done. We're almost done. Set the password for root. Make it something super hard or super easy if you really don't care. And now there's a few things you have to do here. It seems like you're done and you just reboot and you're finished, but that's not true. So bootloader, before you get to the reboot, you have to set up your bootloader. So we're going to click on bootloader, and you're going to go through here, and if you want to use something different, that's fine. I'm going to stick to grub. And we scroll down here, it has a whole bunch of stuff. But really what is important is MBR specific instructions. So installation, install the grub package. So we're going to do pacman s grub. I could have installed that before as well. I didn't, but that's no big deal. So that's done. Then we're going to do a grub install, and target will be i386-pc in dev SDA. Don't do SDA1. Don't do your partition. It's just going to be SDA. Now, if you're doing, now I'm just going to finish this, let that install. If you are installing on UEFI, it has its own installation instructions, which is the x86-64. You're going to tell it it's in the ESP directory and whatnot. Again, I'm not doing that. I apologize. My test rig just doesn't have it. So keep scrolling down. Grub mkconfig. We need to run that sucker. So grub make config o boot grub.cfg. Just going to generate that, and then there you go. So there's a lot more here for more complex setups, but I'm going to hit the back button, Now we're back to our initial guide where we were before. And post-installation general recommendations. You're going to go in here, and it has tons. Users, privilege, services, system maintenance, yada, yada, yada. I'm going to skip all this if you guys want to just install it like I did it. And you're going to click on the users and groups, user management. Sorry, hard to see. This link, it's gray because I've clicked on it in the past. Should be blue for you guys. And this is just going to be how you create your user. Pretty simple. User add. MG. So this is going to be the groups that you're putting your users in. You want wheel because wheel is the group to allow you to be an administrator. So wheel and storage for USB and hard drive stuff. And you want power as well. And then we're going to do s bin bash. This is your shell that your user is going to run. If you want to use a different shell, go ahead. And then username, Dorian. Done. And now we're going to set a password for my username. Password, Dorian. Enter it in twice. Update it successfully. And that's pretty much all I do there. There's other examples on how to add users, make their home directory somewhere else. Way more than I do, personally. But yeah, so that's done. You can do that after rebooting. Doesn't really matter. You can do it before. No big deal. But I think we're pretty much done with that. So I'm going to get rid of that. There we go. And since we're already in the chroot, I'm going to... Earlier when I installed all those things with Packstrap, I installed Cinnamon and I installed SDDM. So we're going to system control, enable SDDM. Symlink. So now when we reboot, it should start SDDM. So moment of truth. Let's zoom out and wait. Let's do the recommended way of exiting this. Let me bring the browser back in here. So to reboot, we're first going to exit. So we've exited the change root. So now we're back on the initial live USB stick. And we're going to unmount mount, which is where we were change rooted into, which was our SDA1 partition. Now we're done. Now we can reboot. So let's go here and reboot. And fingers crossed, everything works as it should. It should. It always does, right? So you see I skipped a whole bunch of stuff. You can go through and do the extra stuff. Okay, so we have grub here. So that's a good start. You can go through and do all the extra stuff. There's all kinds of tricks. If you want to set something up in a weird way, whatever, you can do it. Doesn't really matter. So booting, like I said, this is just how I've been setting it up. And you may find if you're trying to do something and maybe it doesn't work because it's just a bare bones system that we installed here. So something like what I encountered was accessing an SMB share on my NAS. I had to install the GVFS SMB package in order to access it. No big deal. And I see a mouse. And there we go. So, got SDDM, DM. You could also use light DM. You could use whatever display manager you want. Just make sure after you've installed it that you enabled it, like I enabled SDDM. So we've got Cinnamon software rendering. If you installed any other desktop environments, they would be there as well. And enter your password, cross your fingers, and you should get to the Cinnamon desktop. There you go. So that was fairly painless. I mean, it's something that you want to do. It's an experience. It's something that, I don't know, you want to just try and say that you did it, right? So yeah, everything's working here. It's actually pretty snappy. Network manager needs to be running. So this is something I forgot to do. I also forgot to install a terminal emulator. So it almost went perfectly. All right, so I'm going to do Alt-Control F3 to get to another TTY. Log in. This isn't really a big deal at all. And let me just do this again just so you guys can see what I'm doing. And we're going to... Wait a second. Something else I forgot to do. System control, enable, network manager. I knew it. I knew it. All right, so SU, your root password, enter into root. And we're going to go nano etc sudoers. Our user is not set up to be able to use sudo. So you're going to run that command and you're going to scroll way down until you see this %wheel all. I'm going to remove the comment, the hash, Control O, enter, Control X. Now, I do believe okay, that's enabled. All right, so it's because I'm root. Let me see if I can do that. Okay, so you don't have to log out and log back in. That's what I was wondering about. So we've enabled the network manager. Now let's start it. Okay, and then if we do Alt-Control F1, let me zoom this back out for you guys, we should have network, and we do. Okay, so internet working. Now the other thing that I forgot is we're going to do a sudo pacman-s exifce for terminal. You can install whatever terminal you want. Totally up to you. This is just my favorite. It's nice, it's quick, does transparency. I like the settings menu and whatnot. Okay, and then Alt-Control F1 to come back here. So now we can go into administration, and I have a terminal. Right-click and say Add to Panel. And now it's here. So there we go. And now we can go along and this should work. Cache is out of date. Yes. And now we can theme everything however we want. So here you go. You've got your up and running desktop. I don't know if you heard when I logged in, there was sound. Yes. Install Adaptanocto. Sure. And controls Adaptanocto. There you go. Not too bad. So it works. You can go in, change your icons, do whatever you want, install your wallpapers. You're at your desktop. So this works. Awesome. So sorry about forgetting to enable Network Manager. I should have thought of that because I've done it a few times now, but it works. let me just go to, just to show you that audio is working. What do we want? Anything? No? Sound?
1941. A storm rages in the Atlantic Ocean.
Alright.
A squadron of antiquated
Oh, that's a bad one. So hopefully this helped you guys to realize that it's not scary to install. There we go. It's not scary to install Arch. Even if you have an old machine, it'll work pretty nicely. Like I said, this is a 10-year-old machine, and for a 10-year-old machine, it works great. Forgot to check the top. Using 600 megs of RAM, so not the most lightweight, but it's cinnamon. Let's shut it down and make sure she turns off properly. Shut down. Yeah, you can install GNOME, you can install KDE, you can install whatever you want, and just go from there and play around. VirtualBox works. I've done a whole bunch of stuff with Arch. I'm actually using Manjaro for the most part, but I also have Arch installed. It's just not set up to record video and whatnot. So anyways, I hope that helps you guys a little bit. It's a bit of a longer video, but it's quite a few things to get done. Not as much as what's in the wiki, so I hope this maybe saved you guys a bit of time and realized that this kind of a minimal install still works great. Install Arch. Do what I did, follow along, let me know in the comments what you think, if you did it, if you had any issues. Hopefully I can help you out, and yeah, we'll go from there. And I'm hoping to get a lot more videos going in the future here. I'm getting back into the swing of things, so I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys, and I would like to take this moment to thank my past and present Patreon patrons. If you'd like to help contribute to me and help me contribute to the Linux community, head on over to patreon.com/Dorian.Slash. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, bash on.